Good evening, Patrick. 8 Questions with. Welcome you to another fun-filled week. Um, Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Glad you're here. Going to be here with us as we will be talking to actor, stuntman, and champion bodybuilder, championship bodybuilder. Kevin Caliber will be here. Kevin is a fine actor, good stuntman. He's also a model. Yeah, the guy has a lot on the plate. He also served this country by doing a stint in the Marines. We'll be touching upon that as well. Yeah, he's done a lot in his life, and looking forward to talking to him quite a bit, actually. Uh, hey, the professor is here. All right, all right. Professor Macabro is here. Always good to see a friendly face. We will be talking to Kevin Caliber. He'll be here in about 15 minutes. Wanted to say thank you to everybody who showed up on Sunday with our interview with Kevin K from Tuber Chat. I had a great interview with Kim, and highly recommend going over and taking a look at it. Um, one of our best interviews, I feel. And yeah, I want to again thank Kevin for giving up of his time and his voice uh, to come in there and talk about the state of YouTube and some other things. And yeah, and this week we're going to have a lot of fun. We have a busy week ahead of us here on the channel. We have 3 great interviews with you this week. We have Kevin Caliber working. Will be here, and tomorrow we will get the beautiful actress Alexis Baca will be here with us tomorrow at night at 8 o'clock. Hey Stevie, how are you, sir? Glad you're here. And yes, yes, glad to be in a drama-free zone, right? Glad you're here. And then on the 12th, on Thursday the 12th, we will be joined by our special co-host Katie from Popping the Popcorn YouTube channel. Will be joining us as we interview Jake Jolly, Ohio filmmaker Jake Jolly, whose film Clay Zombies is now out. You can see it on Tubi. I watched it, and I can tell you right now, it is an absolute blast. It is a fun ass movie. This is a movie that you watch with some friends. You get yourself a couple of pizzas, kick back with a cold drink, Dr. Pepper or what have you, and just check your brain out and just have a lot of fun. That's what me and the Cheetah did anyway. It features Diane Franklin, actress Diane Franklin from the 80s. She was a big star back in the 80s. Still is a big star, if you ask me. I enjoyed her work very much. And she's in one of the most unforgettable movies ever made, as far as I'm concerned, and on The Last American Virgin. That movie is just, yeah, that's definitely you mentioned Diane. You mentioned that movie, and people's eyes just get really big. Like, holy cow! I remember that movie. But she is playing a DJ in Clay Zombies, and she looks like she is having a blast. Um, so did everybody else making that movie. So we'll be talking to Jake Jolly here on Thursday, and we'll be joined by Katie from Popping the Popcorn. Uh, all right. So hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Got out there, watched Megan. I know a lot of people were out there watching Megan this week. That's awesome. I was glad to see it do really well for everybody. Um, I still think it's more of a there's a Outer Limits episode called Valerie 23 that I think is very much. I think Megan was definitely influenced by that. The makers of Megan definitely had to be influenced by that episode. So Stevie says she's gonna go see it tomorrow. Yes, I know that there's two versions of that movie, the PG-13, and they decided to do that for the general public. But I hear that they're going to release the director's cut, which is the R-rated version. They're going to release that on home release, I hear. So that'll be good. I mean, you can get a chance to, it'll be even more of a good time. As far as me and the cheetah goes, we watched and reviewed Chef. About our latest review as Chef. Um, See, it hasn't released in theaters in Mexico. Neither has The Whale or Terrifier 2. Cinema releases have sucked here. How far away are you from San Diego, though, Professor? Are you able to cross the border to San Diego to watch these movies, or are you deeper down into Mexico? I don't see The Whale or Terrifier 2 making it down. Megan, yes, because it's a major studio. I'm not sure if A24 has that reach yet, and I know Terrifier 2 does not, at least not yet. Yeah, I wanted to see Corsage, but that's so. Yeah, I was gonna say you could just zip on over to San Diego during the weekend and catch it. Um, yeah, I was hoping to see Corsage this weekend. I have to go back and let my buddy know that he gave me a back door to go see it, but I could not. It didn't work because the password didn't work. So I had to go see if I can have him resend it to me so I can watch that. Um, Today was also library day here for us, and so I went down to the library and I made a video that'll be dropping after this interview with Kevin Caliber is over with. It'll drop then. You'll see that me and the cheetah, we had a pretty good day at the library. We had about 25 movies for $1. And yes, 25 movies for about $1. So we did pretty good there. Um, I think we might even beat the record that the Vastman had. Vastman, our good friend Vast loves Horror Lives Matter. He found a charity shop sale where he paid 5 cents. Uh, 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 he paid 5 cents for his movies that he saw. I think I might have beat him. I think the movies that I got today averaged out to like 4 cents a piece. Um, let's see. Oh, thank you, thank you. You know what? Yeah, it looked like the first floor audio. Lee, he went and watched the movie, and he really enjoyed it. I hope so. I'm glad when I hear someone says that when they go watch a review that I've written or have shared. Um, I, that's so cool. Such a good feeling. I love it when someone actually goes and buys the movie that I write about. That's amazing. Hi, Katie. How are you? Um, and speaking of Katie, Katie will be my guest host again on Thursday with Jake Jolly at 8 o'clock, and then next Sunday, the 15th, me and Katie are going to be doing a Hallmark movie, a showcase. We're going to go to her channel and talk about the wedding trilogy, the first three wedding trilogies. So that's right. Damn it, we're talking Hallmark movies over here. All right. And if you think that's soft, well, we just got two words for you. Uh, Go cheetah. Oh, yeah. You know what? Because wasn't she so good in that though? Sophia Vergara, wasn't she so good in this? Man, she was she has such a gentle spirit in that movie. Uh, well, unless until she talked to that critic, then she was a little bit frosty. But that's a joyful movie for sure. Those who care to do so, if you could share us out, that'll be awesome as well. Um, Everybody's going to be waiting for Kevin to get here. It looks like. Uh, hopefully, you guys will stick around and either share us out and hang around and for the interview. Uh, Again, tomorrow night we have Alexis Baca will be here at 8 o'clock. Uh, yes, You know what? That should have been a bigger hit. I agree. Man, I really that's just one of those movies that just is so joyful. There's what I really like about a movie like that is there's a little bit of tense moments in the beginning of it, but you know how a lot of those movies they tend to have some sort of false bump in the road, right? Like the kid and the dad have a falling out right beforehand, or they have to run after each other and shit like that. But this isn't like that. It's all about the music. It's all about the culture. It's all about the father and son bonding over food, what the dad's really good at. It's just a really passionate movie. I love sharing it too because that's you're right. That movie deserved to be much bigger than what it was, and I always hoped that John Favreau would get a break and write a sequel to it. I don't know what it would be about. Maybe the son deciding whether to go to culinary school or not, and cooking with his dad or something like that. I don't know, but I just wish there's part of me that wishes that there was another movie behind it, but I'm also okay with that. There's not. It's a complete movie. It's a standalone movie. It doesn't need a sequel, but at the same time, you sort of want one because you really like the characters so much. All right, let me pop this open just in case. I don't think he's been trying to get me. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Just want to make sure that our good friend Kevin is okay. Okay. All right, just take a look, just making sure that our guest is fine, and I don't see anything from our guest, so he is good to go. He'll be here momentarily. Uh, yep. All right. This Sunday also as well. The Sunday night after me and Katie, we're going to be on at 3 p.m. on Sunday to talk about the Wedding Veil trilogy. At 8 o'clock on the Midnight Society, I will be joined by special guest John Grande from Grande's Graveyard. And also, we'll be joined by the dynamic duo of Gory B Movie and Danny Nightmare, as we will be talking about The Stranger and home invasion movies. We will be talking about The Strangers here. The movies, when the movie was written and directed by Brian Bertino, who also did The Monster, which we already covered on The Society. And we'll be talking The Strangers here on my channel for the Midnight Society. And then we're all going to go over there to Gory B Movies channel at around 10:15, 10:30. And we will be talking about The Strangers, Prey at Night. Um, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this. I have never watched The Strangers before. It'll be a first time watch for me. I mean, first time watch. I'll be watching it probably. I'll probably be watching The Strangers. Actually, I'll probably be watching it Thursday afternoon and Thursday night. Got to make my notes, of course, and then I'm looking forward to the discussion. And then on the 29th of the 22nd, I'll be joined by the Bat, and he's gonna come in there, and we're gonna cover Martyrs on the 22nd, and then on the 29th we will be covering The Last Exorcism. That's right. On the 5th of February, we'll do The Last Exorcism 2. So looking forward to that. Those are also two movies I've never watched before, though I do know that Muse Watson is in the second one. All right. Kevin Caliber is here, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him up. Again, if you feel like if you can share us out, that'd be awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this party started. Greetings, sir.
Hey, what's up, bud?
Good, good. Let me go ahead and make us bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger.
That's right.
There you go.
All right. Wow. What a terrific life you've led. You've led a really interesting life up to this point.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I try to keep it interesting. You can never rest on what you've done. You got to go find that next adventure.
Yes, and I do think that probably would be a good middle name for you, don't you think?
I think so. I think you're onto something.
Adventure Caliber has such a ring to it. It screams action movie.
Boom! That's exactly what I want to hear.
Right. How would you say it? The hero next door?
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm trying to be.
That's right. That's right. The hero action Caliber. Yeah, you got a problem to solve? Why not? Why the hell not?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a lot of it would be a pretty exciting. I think a lot of people would actually tune in to watch it.
I know I would. I mean, I would be the target audience, so
I know I would. Yeah, because you know what? There was this movie in the 80s that or maybe in the 90s that Carl Weathers did. He played Apollo Creed. He did a movie called Action Jackson.
I know
that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot of. You know what? I wish they had done a better box office because that would have been a fun series for him to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, him coming off of Apollo Creed and of course, the Predator, and then doing that, it was like that culmination, and then it's just he's still around too. He's still around doing good stuff. I worked on set with him a few years back, and he still looks amazing. He's still, he's still phenomenal.
I always felt that he should have been bigger than what he was.
Yeah,
I agree. I always felt like, everything that he did, I would watch. He just had one of those personalities. I just like, is Carl Weathers? Hell yeah, sign me up for that.
Absolutely. He will forever live on in the meme and the whatever you want to call it, t-shirts of the most manliest handshake of all time with that shot of him and Arnold. That's he will forever. I mean, that will live on forever. I don't care who you are.
No, obviously, when you think about Predator, that's the first thing the first two things you think of. I guess the first things you think of is Arnold, Carl, and get to the chopper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have Predator merchandise. I have it back there in my collection. It's the Predator. It's whenever I grew up in the 80s, and the 80s action movies is what I wanted to do and what I still strive to be a part of. It was a great piece of cinema for that time period, and I wish I could just be a part of it. And that's why me and a lot of people that I work with, we're just trying to create that type of vibe as the 80s type of scenario. Same thing with some of the horror movies that I do with the practical effects. And it's just they don't make them like that anymore, and there's still a market for it, and there's still plenty of film lovers of my generation, of your generation, that that still want to see it.
Yeah, there's definitely. Most of the people in our chat here. Hi, Georgianne. Hi, Jennifer. How are you? Mr. Bones, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Bones in the house. I'm with you. I think the 80s. In fact, I just picked up. I think it came out in the 90s though, but I did pick it up. I don't know. I would have to go look. I bought this because I didn't have it, and I know that I'm probably going to get ripped for it, but I picked up a copy of Under Siege today.
Oh, love it. Oh, great movie.
Yeah. I love those. The only two movies, the only three movies I liked of Steven Seagal was Above the Law, or Out for Justice, Under Siege.
You didn't like Hard to Kill?
I love.
If you give me a Seagal movie, a movie title with 3 words: above the law, out for justice, hard to
Yeah,
kill.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. You know what? His movies did work better when they had short sentences.
for whatever reason. Yeah, but no,
Under
Under Siege
Siege,
was
Under
fun
Siege
too, because
Two.
a lot of what made Under Siege really good was that you have to have a good villain, and in that movie you got lucky because you got Tommy Lee Jones and Gary
And
Busey both as bad guys. And I mean, what movie could have 2 bad guys like that?
Call Meany was in it. Remember, he was one of the bad guys too, and he played O'Brien on Star Trek. I
Yeah.
remember
Oh yeah.
watching that movie
Remember
the first.
Erica Aleniak was in it, and she had never
Oh,
looked better. Yeah.
Erica was very, very pretty in that movie, very much so. That was just the '80s was just had a lot of fun. I think
Absolutely.
the '80s movies though, when you would talk about that and you think about that, I mean, the first movie you think of probably would be Die Hard 2 for me.
Yeah, all those movies, it was the whole Die Hard that came after it. It was, Under Siege may as well have been Die Hard on a submarine or a battleship. I can't, was it a
Yeah.
submarine in Die Hard?
No,
Or
here
no, Under Siege?
Under Siege. The first one was on board the battleship,
The
and the
second one
second
was on a
one was
train, so it's like Die Hard on a train. You had, all the, I liked it. Cliffhanger was Die Hard on a mountain. It was,
right, right. Yeah,
I
that's
like
right.
the one-man army movies. I'm actually gearing up. I'm trying to make my own one-man army. I gotta do it now. It's the perfect time for it.
Um, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. But I want to go back because you've actually got your roots toward that action hero type of personality. You got that way before you got into the movies. You served as a Marine.
That's right. Yeah. Hoorah.
Uh, um, Before I talk about that, though, we're going to go back a little bit further because I want to see what led you to go that route. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Where were you born and raised at? Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so I am the middle child of 5, and classic middle child syndrome. Gotta stand out where I can, and I'm born right in the heart of America, St. Louis, Missouri. So as the middle child of 5, right in the Midwest, just your regular, regular 2 family or 2 parent household, regular blue collar, middle class family. My dad was a military veteran, and my sister was also, or still, in the military. So I was just graduating high school whenever 9/11 happened, and I just had to go. That's so I was in boot camp by October 15th of '01. So five weeks after 9/11, I was in boot camp, ready to strap on the boots and go do what you got to do.
Let me ask you a little. I mean, knowing what you know today, knowing what we know about today, about that day, uh, uh, would you have done it again? Would you have rejoined? Would you have joined knowing what we know about what happened today?
Yes, I believe that I would have. For me, it was standing up for what we believe was right and the freedoms that were still at stake today. And for me, it was I wasn't a college kid. I got out of high school and was working, and I felt like I needed some direction and some discipline. So I did it for those types of reasons. And while being in the Marine Corps, it is the most physically toughest, whatever you want to call it. It was a big physical challenge, and I did go to infantry school, but I was not an infantryman. I actually worked intelligence. So with that, I worked intelligence and I worked on computers and got a pretty decent education out of it. So no student debt, no nothing like that. So with or without 9/11, I think that the military was a really viable option for me, especially since I was a very able-bodied young man. That I was a bit of a troublemaker as a kid. I was just a troublemaker. So for me, it really put the boot in my ass and gave me the discipline that I felt like I've used moving forward. And even with the day-to-day structure of making sure that you know how to shave and clip your fingernails, and they give you a bank card and you have to pay your own bills, and it puts you into adulthood I was still a teenager whenever I did it, and also I'm learning these life skills that I don't believe college necessarily teaches you.
Right.
Whereas obviously it's a little bit of a drawback, of course, because you could be sent to battle and sent to war at any moment, and you are signing up for that possibility. But for me, it was definitely a good thing. And politics aside, I think that it was a good and best move for me, certainly at the time and going forward. And I would definitely do it again.
Uh, where did you? I mean, you served in intelligence. You get to serve out. Did you get to serve in the Middle East at all?
I did not. My unit went to the Middle East, but I was actually working in a command center in California whenever they did it. So part of me joining intelligence was I did not see any combat, any real action. It was during wartime, but I didn't personally serve in war. So I did stateside. It brought me out to California from Missouri, and I lived in San Diego and Oceanside, California, which is halfway in between San Diego and Los Angeles. And I got to be honest with you, it was really hard to go back to Missouri after you've lived in San Diego. It's there's a reason why I live in California now. After if I would have never joined the military and say I would have just went to the local college or even the state school back in Missouri, I probably would have just stayed in Missouri. But after it's a big world out there. So after getting out there and experiencing it, it's very eye opening to say the least.
How long did you you served for 6 years, right? It's four.
Mine was a little under that. Mine ended up being just 3 years. I got cycled out due to a knee injury. I had a pre-existing knee injury. I shattered my leg back in high school, and it's something that still gives me trouble to this day. And I was in for a couple years, and it started giving me a little bit more trouble. And then unfortunately, they used the damn term. I'm no longer fit for duty, and it's a damn shame. I had a minor limp at the time, and with physical therapy and good exercise and taking care of myself, I still battle it to this day. I still have to go to physical therapy, and I actually go to the VA to this day, and they take pretty good care of me. But it was unfortunately a bad knee that kind of did me in.
You would never know that because you're also a champion bodybuilder, and that's, man, holy shit. I mean, all natural.
Almighty, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been a fan of working out. I was a chubby kid. My dad taught me how to work out when I was 14. I think I started lifting weights and going to the gym, and I actually had to have special permission to go because I was too young to go to the gym. So my dad had to go with me because I think they didn't let anybody below 15 or 16. I can't remember. It's been so long now. And my dad bought me a weight set, and he said, so we went to the gym for a year. Then he bought me a weight set. I was like, I will use it. He goes, I'll spend this investment on you if you promise to use it. And I said, Dad, I swear, if you spent, because we all had, as kids, we all got toys that we never played with again. It's the goal rule. Even as adults, we buy something that we think that we want, and then it just sits there and collects dust. Well, I got to tell you, right behind me is the weight set that my dad bought me. To this day, 25, 26 years later, I still use that weight set. And it's something that I've drugged with me from Missouri to California. I think I've lived in 10 different places since my dad bought it for me, and it goes with me everywhere it goes. So that is one hell of an investment, and that my dad got me. So thank you, Dad. I cannot thank you enough for introducing me to weights. And obviously, I like to lift weights because I've got powerlifting trophies and medals. I've got bodybuilding trophies, and so it's something that's just been a lifelong passion of mine.
I saw some of your hardware. I was like, holy shit. And now it's even more impressive hearing that you had a bad knee. I mean, it makes it even more impressive because that's a lot of dedication. I mean, you work out hard.
Yeah, well, in the military, actually, whenever I cycled out, they offered me a partial knee replacement. And they told me, they said, your strength will never truly be there. And whenever they looked at my x-rays, the doctor asked me how bad my limp was. And I was like, I don't really notice it. It was very, very minor. And he told me that I had so much missing cartilage and different funky things in there. They said if I didn't take care of it, I'd be dragging my leg behind me. I'd be pretty much debilitated. So whenever he examined me, he said, oh, you got pretty good quads and you're pretty, the muscles there. I was like, yeah, I lift weights. And he goes, you can't stop. The moment that you stop, he's like, basically it's the muscles around my knee that are holding it together. So if you want to talk about an incentive to stay with it and, stay in good shape and just you know, if the other option is dragging my leg behind me and not being able to walk right, or I could go to the gym and look good and feel good, then, you know, I think that that's pretty important.
How did you hurt your knee, Kevin?
I was in a car accident. I was in
Oh,
the back seat of a car, and this was in the 90s, and we didn't, you know, we didn't always wear seat belts, and especially not in the back seat. And I was in a car, and it rolled, and I was in the back seat just rolling around with the car, and ended up shattering my kneecap. And they wired it back together, and then about 4 or 5 months later, the wire actually came apart inside of my knee, and it actually tore the patella tendon and my ACL, and the entire thing came apart. So whenever that happened, they had to do a complete rebuild on it. So I was 16, I believe, whenever I got the complete rebuild. And then whenever I was 17, it was about a year later, they went in there and took out all the hardware that they had put in. So I think I was 17 for my last surgery. So it was one surgery year. It was like 15, 16, 17. I had knee surgeries every year, and then joined the military at 19. And by 21, I was kicked out of the military due to that same bum knee. But
wow. Yeah, you were lucky. Well, it must have been. I bet you still can see. I bet you still can hear and feel and see the accident sometimes.
oh yeah, I went back to Missouri not too long ago, and I took the same road. I mean, it was we were dumb kids. We used to go real fast and jump these train tracks. And again, I wasn't driving. I was 15. I didn't even have a license yet, and we hit it too fast one time and lost control of the car and flipped however many times. And yeah, so I went down that memory road, and needless to say, I took the road pretty slow. But it's definitely you have so many days in your life that put you in a different trajectory with just that one moment. And that was the main one out of, I'd say there's probably 3 moments in my life that I could say would have, you know, that fork in the road. And that was my big one of my teen years that literally put me in a different direction.
I think every young kid. I mean, especially if you're at the age that you were. I think every young male anyway. I think they sort of stumble across things. Troublemaking. Like you said, maybe as light brushes with the law. When did you start thinking about? I mean, but you got into music though, right? I mean, when did you get into music? Was that after you into before the military, after, during?
Music was mostly I was kind of divided in high school. I always liked theater and I liked music, but I also liked sports. I played all the sports, and I kind of was put in this weird, almost, I don't know if you'd call it a box. It was almost like not a box. It was the jocks didn't necessarily completely befriend me because all the jocks were preppy kids that wore collared shirts, and they that was them. And I wasn't that, and I would be in theater, and then the theater kids didn't really like me because they thought that I was a jock because I'd show up wearing my football jersey to class whenever it was tradition that whenever our team won, we would wear our jersey. So now I'm this guy in theater wearing his football jersey, so I didn't really blend in with them either. So essentially, at the end of the day, I liked wearing band T-shirts and '90s alternative rock music was my thing. So I ended
Mhm.
up more hanging out with the stoners playing music than I ever got along with the theater kids. I noticed I wasn't real cool with the theater kids or the jocks. I ended up just being a stoner that played music. So I played music all throughout my teens, and then whenever I got out of the military, I really got serious about it. And we had a pretty good run there in St. Louis. I was in a band that they played us on the local radio, and we got to open up whenever big bands would come into town. We'd be the opening act, but we were right on the cusp. But we never not got the record deal. We never broke mainstream or made it national. We were still a local act. And then I tried. We did that for 5 years, I want to say, and it never hit that point. And then eventually it kind of fizzled out. And then unfortunately I had to go get a regular job, just like like a regular person. And I got a job as a couple different careers, and one of them was in civil engineering that I ended up getting into because I had construction experience. And I started working in civil engineering, so it was kind of construction, but still using my brain at the same time. So I got to use some of the skills that from my intelligence days in the military, combined with some of my construction skills, and civil engineering is where I landed.
Now, did you land it? Did you start that at that part of your career in Missouri, or did you go? How long after you got out of the Marines did you go to Missouri, or did you stay in California and visit Missouri?
No, I went right back to Missouri. I had a weird story. My mother got sick, and I still had two little sisters that were in high school. So I went back to Missouri, lived with my little sisters. I was kind of trying to play dad at like 20, 21 years old. I was playing dad to them. And it was a tough thing trying to be a dad to teenage girls at the age of 21.
Yeah.
So that's whenever the music started. I linked back up with my high school buddies. In fact, the guy that was driving the car that I flipped and shattered my leg, me and him were the ones that formed the band together. He was my best friend forever, and still my good buddy to this day. Shout out to Nate. And he was the guitar player. I was the bassist. We wrote all the music, and then so that was all in Missouri. I didn't move, and then I moved back to California right whenever I turned 30. That was one that it was my first quarter life crisis. I said, so I can't do this anymore. I need to change the scenery. And I felt that I got a little cut short with my fun days of being that early 20s. I felt like
You had to grow up. You had to grow up faster than you should have.
yeah, that's right. And again, no regrets or anything. I learned a lot about myself, and of course, I love my sisters, I love my family, and I would do that all over again. But it was still tough. It was still a tough situation for anybody, let alone a 21-year-old kid, basically.
Who were some of the bands you opened up for?
So a big one was called Head PE, Head Planet Earth. They were an alternative metal band back in the day, and they were one of my favorite bands in high school. And then Fozzy, which was Chris Jericho, the wrestler. His band was called Fozzy, and we got to open up for them, and that was a lot of fun. And then it was
I worked with
American Head Charge was one. We were alt new metal band, so it was a very very small time period in time of that early 2000s that the music was cool.
Yeah, I did a show with Head PE once. So
Nice.
that was cool. That's cool to hear.
Yeah, those guys rock. I can still get down to some Head PE. I haven't
Oh,
heard
hell
anything
yeah.
new from 15 years, but I'll still jam to that.
Oh, hell yeah. They're a great band. I want to say they're still out there cranking it, I think.
Yeah,
As
I'm
far as
pretty
I
sure they
know.
are. They were from out this way. I think they were from Huntington Beach, if I remember correctly. So yeah.
Um, yeah, so now you were a musician, and then here you are, you're doing the civil engineering in Missouri, or was your mom okay after a while, or
No, my mom ended up passing. It went pretty quick. So she passed whenever I was 20. So it was so I got kind of it was kind of a hybrid hardship and combined with my injury, because with my injury they considered keeping me around to kind of see out the doctors. Instead, they sent me home. Then I just had to go to the local Air Force base once a month to see the docs. And I did that while my mom was sick. So I was able to spend time with her as she was, departing.
I'm sorry to hear that. Um, yeah, that sucks. Uh, so now you're 30. Now you got one career going. You had a band. You got experience playing in a band. Got a job as a civil engineer, and then when did the acting bug hit you?
So, it's the damnedest thing. Somebody tagged somebody on Facebook about a TV show going in St. Louis, and it was a TV show that they were looking to cast, and somehow it got to me, and it was a family show. It was supposed to be like a Modern Family type. 'Cause Modern Family was the biggest TV show. It was new at the time and was huge. So like, hey, we're looking to do another Modern Family, and they needed a young, like a member of a power couple, and they loved that I would run every day and took all my vitamins and worked out and would still like kind of wear a suit to work, not a suit, but I was still like business casual. I was supposed to be like this blue collar meets white collar guy, and so we shot the pilot. We shot the pilot for the Lifetime network, and I didn't realize how few pilots went back then. I mean, it's really like 3% or something actually go. And so I was still going to work every day, and I took a couple weeks off for filming, and I only told my boss. I didn't tell my coworkers because I didn't want them to think that I was being silly, you know. And so I went and I shot the pilot, and then it just never got picked up. And but by this point, it's like, oh man, like I've like, you know, like now all this is coming out of me. So I immediately went and joined another band. So I was immediately on stage singing again and playing. I was like, I need to perform. Like, I can't just work a desk job anymore. Like, I know that that's not for me. And then I did that. And then for 1 year, we were under contract for the pilot. And in that 1 year is whenever I got, you know, like I said, I played music. And then as soon as that contract was up, they said, the contract's no more. You're not legally obligated to be in Missouri anymore. Cause that's what was keeping me there, was that hope that the show would get picked up, and it didn't. So as soon as it got done, it was like, I told my partner at the time, I said, quit your job. We're moving to California. Like, we're doing it. We're going to LA. I was like, I don't care. I would rather go back to, I'd rather be a struggling artist doing what I love. Cause while I was playing music, I was like a window washer. And it sounds so weird to like say, like, I enjoyed being a window washer. I was freelance. I worked on my own schedule. There was no boss. It was just me and a window.
You didn't work on any skyscrapers, did you?
No, nothing over 3 stories was as high as I would go. If I couldn't reach it with a pole or a ladder, I wasn't.
Imagine getting on. Yeah, just go to the 52nd floor today. How about hell no to that?
Yeah, I'm good on that. I like keep my feet on the ground. So I started comparing things, and I said that I would rather I function better as a window washer that was also a musician that played out as much as I could than having the regular 9 to 5, no matter how successful you want to call it. And so I decided to make the move to LA and give up the career. I did not take a job whenever I got here. I went 2 feet in. I'm going to be full-time working on set, any means possible. I sold my house back in Missouri, so I kind of had some funding whenever I came out here. And yeah, sell all your stuff and move to LA, and you'll figure it out. And I'd like to think that I've done a pretty good job doing that.
Now, were you competing? Were you bodybuilding? Competitive? Were you doing that in Missouri, or was that in California?
No, only in California. I was always told that I wasn't big enough. I mean, that was the thing, and I never wanted to be huge. I'm comfortable because I was also a runner. I was running marathons all over the country, and so I was kind of this weird hybrid where if I would have leaned into running more, maybe I could have done that, better. Or if I would have just done bodybuilding, I could have been bigger. But I was this weird in between. I don't like doing just one thing. So whenever I moved to LA, fitness modeling is one of the things that I found.
Yeah.
And I did some workout videos, and I was in like a GNC ad. So I was in all the windows of GNC, and it was like, wow, this is the thing. Like I've always just been a guy that likes to work out. And then I got with a guy who did compete, and we kind of became buddies. And I was like, and then I not talked him into, we just started training together. He kind of coached me. And then he's like, you're pretty close. Like at this point I've been working out for almost 20 years. So I was probably 30, 33, 34, something like that the first time that I competed. And yeah, it's just something I just decided to do one day, and I did pretty good. My first year, my first comp I didn't place, and then my second one I got third, and then by the second year I actually won first place. And it was like,
wow.
Oh wow! I was told, it's one of those things. Like,
how did you?
As sad as it is, being in Missouri, I'm told I can't be an actor. That's impossible. You can't do this. You can't be a bodybuilder. You're not big enough. But it's like so much of it is just going it and doing it, and trying and believing that you can.
Yeah, I guess the more people say no to you, it's really the no is really yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say no, that's to me, I'm not hearing no. I'm hearing yes.
That's right. Or try.
How did you protect your leg to run those marathons? I mean, that must have been scary, because I can see you doing like an Ironman.
A little bit, yeah. I did a 50K once. That was pretty ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. But no, it was, I could run straight with the way that my knee injury is that it's all in the lateral movement. So I can't play basketball anymore, unfortunately. I can't really play tennis. My side to side is no good, but I could run a straight line and I could do it all day long. And I've got really good slow twitch muscle fibers. So I was never able to jump very high, but I could do it all day long. So for me to go run a marathon, I could go and run for 3-4 hours and not stop once and feel pretty good. And a lot of it was again with the therapy, with all the extra. I have to work really hard to keep my body in that type of condition, because I did another half marathon last year. And by the time I got to race day, I was already limping before I started. So I'm just hobbling, and I got this weird giddy up, and I'm like, I got to go do this for 2 hours because that's how long it takes me to do a half marathon. And it's now my body is really breaking down. But during my 20s, I could run all day.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a shame. It happens, but if you do take care of yourself, I mean, I do think that will happen. I think with an injury that severe on anybody, I think that would have just come back to get you, because I mean, you're basically getting your whole knee. I mean, the fact that it fell apart, the surgery fell apart on you, man, that just sucks. I mean, putting all that hardware in there and saying we're gonna fix you, and then all of a sudden it goes all sideways.
Yeah,
I
and
can
it
imagine the
was
pain. I can't imagine the pain you're in.
even the day it came apart. I remember the day very well that it came apart on me.
I'm
It was
sure
on a
you
it was on
do.
a Friday, and I was walking, and I just took. I didn't slip. I didn't do anything. It was just like a funny step, and the whole thing came apart, and it blew up. My knee actually blew up to about the size of a cantaloupe. And what they told me is that it was an involuntary movement is what got me. And they said that because of all the hardware, everything has been my leg was in a knee immobilizer for so long that it's not used to it, so things are atrophied. And it was just a funny step, just one funny step, and the whole thing came apart. And I remember that I had tickets to a concert that night, and I went and I got my knee drained. And then they set up surgery for the following week because they couldn't rush me into surgery on that Friday or anything. So like, all right, we'll bring in schedule surgery for Monday. So just take the weekend off. And I had concert tickets to go see 311 that night. And I was like, I'm gonna go, because honestly, months earlier, whenever I initially broke my leg, I had concert tickets to go see the Foo Fighters on the Foo Fighters' very first ever concert tour. This is back when they were brand new, and it was in a theater that only sat like 300 people. So, and I missed it because I was in the hospital because of my leg. So I missed the Foo Fighters in a 300-person show. So here we are several months later. I wasn't going to miss 311 due to the same damn knee. So I was on crutches, and I remember jumping up and down on one foot. So to music, and I'm an idiot. What can I say?
311, another great band, and another band I worked with.
Very cool.
I was a talent buyer in California. So it's like when I heard about, read that you were a musician, I was like, I wonder how many bands him and I will have in common. And now we know. So wow, I just am just sitting there just imagining it. Isn't it always the case when something like that happens? It always happens on a Friday.
Oh, always on a Friday. The initial accident was on a Friday. We were excited. We got out of summer school and we went and jumped the tracks. We were so excited to be out of school on a Friday that.
And then it happens, and then you have to wait the whole damn weekend before you can get any sort of any help. It always is like that. So now you're in California still. Now you're playing in a band, and you're working, you're sustaining yourself, and then the acting bug hits you. And what did you audition for first? I mean, you did the audition in Missouri for the TV show. And like you said, the pilot season's rough. That's rough. I read the trades, and I'll see like the networks will do like here's the 80 pilots that they're looking at, and they'll list them all, and you read them and go like, wow, that looks good, and then some you just look at and go like, another lawyer show, seriously?
Yep.
Oh,
Police procedural. I want to get on one. I'm up to 8 pilots that I've done, and none of them have gone. So hey, one of them's bound to go eventually.
yeah, eventually. But you did Supergirl. We're all in the chat here. We're all horror fans and superhero fans. So, but I definitely want to talk about Supergirl because I caught my eye. I'm going like, because I like the show, and I know my friend Kal-El in there. He likes the show too. Well, what was it? What? How did you land on that show?
So Supergirl was funny. I got hit up by my agent. I'd only done, a dozen projects or show by then. I think that was something like my 3rd year in LA, something like that. And I got hit up and they said, and it was so secretive. I mean, these projects are so secretive. It's amazing how many things we actually audition for that you don't really realize what it is. They use code names and they give you dummy sides that aren't actually the sides that you're going to be reading.
No, they want to see if you leak it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's weird too, because now everything comes with them all, with your name.
See, now he can't even talk about it. He froze.
Oh, am I froze?
Oh, there you go. I was gonna say they froze you. I'm like, see, they're not gonna even let you talk about it now.
They cut me off. That's
damn that Melissa.
So I get hit up for, and it says a Superman type is what it said. So I get there and I go to Warner Brothers Studios. And I remember we're Warner Brothers is surrounded by parking lots, so you actually have to cross like a main road to get into Warner Brothers. So I remember standing there on the street corner, and I was wearing, I remember the exact shirt that I was wearing. I was wearing a gray T-shirt that was pretty form-fitting, and I'm standing there, and I look over, and I see a guy in blue, and he's just got the tightest like Under Armour blue Superman shirt on, and he's got the hair, and I mean, I'm looking, I was like, oh, Superman type. And I was like, he really went all in on his Superman look. So we end up walking across, go through security. We walk all the way to the audition together because, of course, we're going to the same place. And I get in there, and there's 8 guys in there, and every single one of them is in a blue shirt. and I'm the oddball, but hey, maybe it made me stand out. And I go into the bathroom, and in the bathroom, there was a sign up above the toilet, and it made like one of those kind of like puns about going to the bathroom. And it said something, I can't remember exactly what it said. Not looking back, I wish I would have taken a picture of it, because it said something like if you're a Superman, then please don't pee on the seat because Supergirl owns this place, or something. It was something. It was all about Supergirl is what was the thing. And I'm going to the bathroom, just looking at it. I was like, Supergirl, huh? He's still not thinking about it. And then we go through the audition process. And then there's always another round of auditions. They whittle it down, and then they bring us in. A lot of times they do director meetings, and I got to meet Glenn Winters, who was did a lot of Smallville, and they brought him in to do the Supergirl pilot. Possibly the whole first season, but at least the pilot. I can't remember anymore. And so then we're meeting with them, and then it came down to 3 of us, and then you kind of see the eliminations happening, and then there was 2 of us. And then and the way that it broke to me that I booked it was them asking me if I was available to go right now to the costumer and go get fit for, they said they're going to build custom costume for me. So I went, still on the Warner Brothers lot. I went to the Warner Brothers costuming department, and they did all the measurements, and I still have it. It's the size sheet. It's not your normal height, weight, inseam. I mean, they measure you from here to there to there to there, and they want every single, so that they could make this thing exact to you.
And you can't lose any weight.
That's right. Oh yeah, you're in it. And on the thing, I actually trimmed down a little bit because I wanted to look my best, and I got in the best shape of my life for it. And they even made a comment. They're like, "You lost a little weight around the midsection." I'm like, "Well, yeah. I've been hitting it hard." And but on top it says my name, and then behind it it did say for character Superman, and that's probably my favorite little piece of something that I ended up with. And so we ended up filming a lot for Supergirl. We did, yeah, so much. And from what I've heard, I mean, a lot of this is hearsay and lore, but from what I heard is that they really kept dialing back the amount of Superman that we're going to end up in. They're like, it's all about Supergirl. We need her to be the focus. We put Superman in it. It'll take away from that. So
Right.
that's what I got out of it. And at the end of the day, you kind of see what it ends up with. Everything's in glimpses and flashes, and you can tell that it's me, but it's blown out and things like that. But we did a lot, and we had a great time doing it. So yeah,
And you're immortalized.
that's right, right. And that super wiki, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, aren't you amazed by those wikis, those fan-driven wikis?
Oh
You,
yeah.
you you go some of them up, and you look up there, and there you are, and they know shit about you that you didn't know yourself.
Yeah.
Like can play bass guitar, both right-handed and left-handed, and stand up, and you're going like, wait a minute, can I? I didn't know that. Let me go, honey. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
and one of my favorites was because I'm a movie fan first. I mean, I'm a huge movie buff, and I love my superhero movies. Like I said, we talk about action and horror, and I'm just a movie fan first and foremost. And I believe it was my third day on set, and they took me to the makeup trailer, and they sat me right between. I had Helen Slater on one side and Dean Cain on the other, and it was to just sit there in between, a legit Superman and a legit Supergirl,
that's right.
and just be put right between them. That was a very special feeling.
Did you guys talk?
Oh yeah, they're super chat. It's amazing how much people talk in the makeup room. That is one of your times too that they always kind of say don't really approach the star. You kind of leave them to their own. A lot of the name talent don't eat lunch with you, and they're not just hanging out on set. They walk to set, they go right to their mark, they say their lines, they go right back to their trailer. But in the makeup room, it's not quite no holds barred, but it's almost like being in the bathroom with somebody. It's like, hey, we're all vulnerable here. We're all kind of here killing time, and that's one where you could really just talk and gab and really get to know people, because you may be there for 5 minutes, you may be there for 2 hours, but that's the time that we're all kind of chatting.
Do you pick up any advice from either Helen or Dean?
No, not really advice. It's just more of, hey, this is fun. They were so happy to be there too. It's one of those ones where you could genuinely see it in the people that they were really excited to be there, because one of the bad things about working in Hollywood, what you think is cool, they're kind of over. It's like expecting the same band to play that song that's your favorite song, but for them they played it a million times and
Right.
they don't care about it anymore. So it's like, how many times could these, and you can tell whenever you look at like meet and greets with people, whenever they're at cons, and they're pretty burnt out. They're doing this picture, they're signing the same autograph. Like, I don't know if you watch the Val
Mm.
doc, but Val Kilmer, he's like, you could be my wingman, and it's just, in
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
cases.
yeah.
But in other cases, you see that they light up. And that was one with Helen and Dean, that you could see that, regardless, I think that both had very successful careers, but probably compared to others, not as much. It's not talking to, George Clooney about Batman or anything. It's a different ball game, but you could see that they both genuinely love being a part of that world, and love that, they can be in it forever, and and knowing that they're immortalized, that, people do look up to them. And it's like, I'm not going to call her Supergirl while in the room, but it's like, you want to be, oh, it's Supergirl, oh my god.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Well, Helen Slater has turned out to be a really prolific director.
Yeah,
Yeah,
again, with
that's
so many
that's her.
people, you don't know what they've been up to. And with some people, they could, oh man, that must suck that they don't get work anymore. It's like, oh no, they're doing much bigger things than, saying words on camera. Like, what they're doing is much deeper and bigger and more important in the big scope.
Let's see. Let's see. Yes. The professor is mentioning. Is he liked the Supergirl movie from '84 with Helen Slater and Brenda Vaccaro and Faye Dunaway. And Echo says it's been a while since I saw the movie. Yeah, me too. And I always enjoyed Dean Cain, Superman, and Lois and Superman, the New Adventures of Superman. I enjoyed him there. I've actually reviewed a few of his movies. Nice. He seems like a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, yeah, he does seem like a very nice guy. In fact, it kind of made me laugh so a few years back, I did a Superman fan film, and it was called Supermen World War, and we did World War II era. And this was just back in Missouri with some of my local filmmakers back there, because I still keep in touch with them, and we did that, and it was pretty funny because I shared a clip from it, and then somebody sent it to, and Dean tweeted about it. So that was pretty cute, and it was fun to still have a Superman comment on me as a Superman thing that I was doing.
Yeah, I noticed that you know what? There's another group out in L.A. I'm not sure if you heard of them. If not, you should probably look them up. I can help you with that. Called Rogue Origins. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of them. I've never connected with them, but I have heard of them.
I would highly recommend it. And I've actually interviewed the owner of the company, and I've known friends who've done work with them. And they do the fan things too. They'll put together or they'll do some original pieces. They do the real short ones. It's almost like pitch. It's almost like my friend Josh Hahn. He did two of them for him as John Lee, who was the son of Odd Job from the James Bond movies. Yeah. So they created the character John Lee, and they made two of these films. I mean, they're like 5 or 6 minutes long. They're amazing. They're amazing, Kevin. And you just sit there and you go like, that needs to be a movie. That needs to become a movie. But right now, fan films seem to be really, really hot. I mean, they're very, very popular. Before, the studios would just shut the door on it. Like if you try to do your Superman,
yeah,
you play the Eradicator on one short film. Yeah. If you try to do that, and if you try to do that a few years ago, you would get a cease and desist. You can't wear the costume on camera or anything else. But now it seems like as long as you're respectful, as long as you're not trying to make a dollar off of it, they're more open to what you're doing, which I still sort of think sucks. I think that if you to me, I just feel like if a fan film, if they show the studio how much money they spent, let's say we did this for $10,000, and the studio says, okay, for the first $10,000 you can sell it, but we get the first 10,000, and after that, whatever you make after that, you can keep. You can keep up to maybe 200,000, and then we revisit it. Then maybe we'll get points or something. I think that way both parties can benefit from that. But because I think, to me, it's a labor of love to go out there and make a fan film and show the respect and show this is our vision of what we see for the character. And it would be nice to see some of the studios sit there and say, all right, hey, you know what, we're going to get our little smidge here, because they got to, because they're their property. But at the same time, we're not going to sit there and take an arm and a leg. We're going to allow the filmmakers to make money, because who knows what they're going to do next. Maybe they do something down next in line that will attract the studio's attention. Maybe instead of looking for more money after a certain amount of money made, maybe they turn around and say, here's what we want. We'll take our first 10,000. You could make it up to, let's say, the first 200,000, and then after that, we get exclusive on your 3 next projects. You show us what you're doing for the next 3. Let us have the option of picking it up or not. Something like that. Develop the talent. How many short films have you done? And do you like short films?
Short films are cool. I mean, obviously, I prefer a feature because I like something a little more hatched out. I've done, me personally, produced and actually made. I've made about 20 of them over the years, and actually just acted in or been stunt guy or something. Probably about 50 total. It was one that earlier in my career I did a whole lot more of them because you never know. I like to vet people before I truly, get into a full blown, like working relationship
Yes.
them. And one of the ways that I do that is if it's a writer that I want to work with, or an actor or a camera guy, I was like, cool, let's shoot a short film. Let's shoot for 1, 2, 3 days, and then we'll see how well we do. Because if we can't get along for a 2 day short film shoot, then we sure as shit aren't going to get along for 6 months of developing a feature
Right.
or a series or something. So that was something that's an amazing tool to try out new things. And a lot of them, even that like we called short films, or some of them that ended up on IMDb that I don't think necessarily needed to go there. I think they could have just been a funny thing that I put on YouTube or Facebook and just, call it, they almost more of what like SNL skit would be, or, because we've done so many of those, just kind of creating our own content, just kind of goofing off. And with that, they definitely have more polish than that. But also with short films, it's a fun way to send to kind of send a cool little calling card. So like I say, for directors, I love to um,
Right.
uh, more inexperienced directors and making a really polished, good short film that could potentially not necessarily be sold into a feature, but you could kind of see a short or two and be like, okay, this is what they could do. So kind of the same thing you were talking about with the fan films. It's like, oh, this is what we can make on a $5,000 short film, knowing that we just got 10 minutes of 10 minutes of product for 5 grand. Like, can we do a feature film for 50 or 100 grand and really make it have that sheen, that good Hollywood polish? Because I go to a lot of film festivals as well, not only ones that I am in, but to support my friends. And we just go just to network and meet new people. And with that, you see some pretty brutally bad ones, people that are, the and not to hate on anybody, but some of the people that are they shot it and edited it and did all that themselves, and they learned from YouTube. They don't have the proper training, and you could see potential in it, but then ones you're like, yeah, that's just, there's something off about it. And again, not to talk bad, because I'd rather somebody make a crappy short film than make nothing at all, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. I think short films are a perfect training tool. We do got a question here from the professor. He wants to know, what's your favorite superhero?
Ooh, man. I'm gonna have to go dark on this one. I think I'm gonna have to say Punisher. I loved the Punisher growing up, even the not so great Dolph Lundgren film back in the day. And so I actually got to double for the Punisher too, whenever it was announced that Bernthal was going to be him. And then I love John Bernthal as an actor. He's one of my favorite actors right now. And what he did with the Punisher to bring it to life, I was a really, really big fan of. And I've heard more rumors of him being able to do it some more. But man, I just love the Punisher. Even what was the one? The Punisher Wars. It
Oh,
was like
yeah, the
a
Ronald
hard
White,
R movie.
right. Yeah, he did. Ray Winston did the Punisher
Yep.
Warzone.
Yep.
Then Thomas Jane did his with John Travolta.
Yep.
I like the one Thomas Jane did. I thought it was damn good.
Yeah, I agree.
Very,
I'm
very
surprised that they
ultra,
didn't
ultra
franchise
violent.
it, but
I thought it was pretty. I know they say Warzone was more action, but I thought the one that Thomas Jane did, I thought I had plenty of action, and yeah, that was a brutal movie. I mean, it's mean. I like the Punisher too. I think he's been an interesting character. Um, yeah. Okay. So now, as far as the stunts goes, I'm listening to this and I'm going like, how do you like how did you, because stunts are a little bit different because you got to have that side to side movement, like it's not just straightforward. So how do you do stunts with a bad wheel?
so that is a tricky one. You'll notice it's funny. I, I try to wear slightly baggier pants at all times. And I'm always wearing knee pads, almost always, even whenever I'm just acting. It gets kind of silly. So I try not to do my own stunts very much. When I do bigger SAG projects, so they always give me a stunt double. But I like having the option of doing it whenever I'm doing small independent films, and I try to keep it to my strengths. I know that I could play my right leg is my strong leg anyway. It's my left leg that's the bad one. So it's just knowing your own, what you're doing, and sometimes you just got to suck it up and do something. And I may be limping for a couple of days, but I that's one of the reasons why I did not like doing full time. I never did full stunts full time. I went to stunt school so I could be able to move on camera and be able to perform my own when need be. And I went to two different stunt schools to try to learn the best ways of falling and this type of thing. But stunt guys, man, those guys they're just they're just built different.
I'm
You
interviewing.
gotta have almost, it's almost some SNL type stuff to get into that.
I'm interviewing one stuntman later on this month named Brian Dodds, and hopefully one in February, which I'll keep right now because I haven't booked it. But yeah, I have nothing but respect for stunts. Have you ever lost a role because of your injury?
I believe that I have, whether they tell you that or not. I have had, like I said, sometimes my knee will flare up on me, and I know I've had roles cut shorter than what they were supposed to be whenever it came time to it. We did one action movie, and I come running down the street, and it was a bad day for my leg. It was, it's weird. I could be feeling fine. All of a sudden, I wake up one day, and it just bothers me. I don't know if it's the weather, I don't know if it's just what I did 2 days earlier, but yeah, I had one. They cut out almost all my action. It went from me, cool guy running down the street and chasing down the bad guy. I was undercover detective, and then by the time you see what actually happens, I just kind of showed up at the last moment and dove in. I was like, damn, I did a lot of running, and I was really trying. But yeah, I hope I haven't outright lost anything for that. But hey, you never know. We all lose roles for the dumbest stuff sometimes. So
Yeah,
you
sometimes
never
that
know.
happens. Yeah, sometimes that does happen. Um, what kind of movie do you like playing in most? I mean, what are your strengths and your weaknesses as an actor, and what do you do to compensate for that? Let's go with your strongest. What's your strongest suit? I mean, what do you see your what kind of acting is your strongest?
Well, that's kind of a funny thing with the development as a talent. With me coming up, it was always I was practicing everything dramatical. It was always just everything so serious because for whatever reason, that's what the studios train you to do. Very, very, very rarely ever train you to do a comedical unless you're trying to go to Groundlings or Second City and just be an improver, because there is a difference between improving and comedic timing. Because I actually like dramatical improv. Like you give me a crappy dramatical scene and I will put my headspace into something weird and I will twist something out of it. So as I started coming along, I was booking a lot of military, a lot of cops. I mean, I could play cop, almost in my sleep. It's like I have my own uniforms. Like, oh, you need a cop? Cool, I'll be there, and I'll look the part, and I'll go arrest somebody. And then I started more comedy, and just out of pure luck of auditions. And whenever I did Future Man, that was one where it really felt good. I just started creating this character and went in there and booked it, and ended up with 3 seasons. That was a Seth Rogen produced TV show, and it was the same guys that did Sausage Party and some of the other goofy stuff. And it was just so much fun, and I really enjoyed it. And then I got on a couple other sets around that time where they just let me cook and just try to be funny. And I try to be the almost like the butt of his own joke type of guy. Like I try to do it to myself sometimes, which is a tough thing because a lot of guys always be tough and you're not going to make fun of me. But then you see what like I don't know if it's like Channing Tatum in 21 Jump Street, or what Mark Wahlberg's done a pretty good job being self-deprecating. And I start leaning into that. And honestly, I really enjoy doing that. I enjoy making people laugh. And even whenever it's not on purpose, if it's something that comes out of a scene, then it's like, oh shit, we did get a laugh there. Like, it's not supposed to be funny, but for whatever reason, it's like, and it's not being goofy, it's not being silly. I'm not Jim Carrey. I'm not a physical comedian that's going to turn around and talk with my bud or something. I'm not going to tell a joke. But it's like, I'd like to think that it's like just a weird timing and like a look and a hesitation here. And I really just started enjoying comedy. And if comedy, but again, I don't like to do any one thing, but if it's almost like action comedy, I think is what I would love if I could, because there's like a lot of funny parts whenever you would watch Die Hard or something. I mean, as like now I probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedy and action movies. I mean, there's a lot of action comedy movies out there. I mean, I know they were just talking about Beverly Hills Cop. I think the fourth one is actually being filmed right now.
Yeah, I auditioned for it, didn't get it, or my phone's gonna ring tomorrow. I don't know.
Well, who keep our fingers crossed. What was Future Man like? What was that movie about? I don't stream, so that's alien to me. But what was it?
Oh, okay. That one was a lot of fun because for me, growing up in the 80s, so a little bit of backstory with that is that Seth Rogen has multiple people that he works with, and two of the people that he works with, people that he went to university with up in Canada, that are all the same age. And Seth Rogen is literally 3 weeks younger than me. So whenever I got on set with these guys, we're literally all the same age. So we get all the same references. It's like you kind of have this pocket of like people that you went to high school with at the same time, that it's like you grew up watching the same, we all grew up watching Saved by the Bell, and we grew up, it's like all these things that, we all get the Seinfeld references. And to work with them, my character originally was just supposed to be in for one episode. And I just met the writers on set, and we're all just bullshitting, and they were so much fun. And then they're like, hey, we'll bring you back for something. So it's a time travel show is what it is. And whenever he goes to the 80s, like one of the lead characters, I become his best friend in the 80s. So in it, we're not spoofing or mocking, but it's very satire. And we did like the Top Gun volleyball scene. I was basically in a Spuds McKenzie commercial. We did the Thunderdome. We did, it's like Fatal Attraction. And we're doing all these things that are all these 80s and early 90s references that I'm loving because I get the references. And we just keep going back for more and more. And such an amazing cast on that one. I get to work with like Ed Begley and, like people that I'm like, that I've grown up watching my life. And then it's to just be a part of that and then go back for more and more. And like I said, I ended up, there was the three main characters, and then myself were the only four people that were actually in all three seasons. Cause whether it was Keith David or Haley Joel Osment or, Ed Begley or Seth Rogen himself was on camera, whomever, nobody else was in all three seasons. But so I could take that as a little sign of pride that I got to be in all three seasons.
That's very cool. That's fun. Everybody knows. Yeah, he says Seth Rogen, and I can see everybody in the chat just shaking their heads. I'm behaving. Leave me alone. I'm behaving.
I did have a funny Seth Rogen moment in that. Well, a couple of them, but mine was he wasn't anywhere around for episode one, the first episode that I was in. But then whenever I went to the table read for my second episode, he was in the room, and usually all the producers are there, and it's down at the script. It's literally the first time that I'm reading it. And I look down and I say one of my lines, and I hear the Seth Rogen laugh come from the crowd. And I was
nice.
Because of course it stands out. He's got such a, possibly the most recognizable laugh. And whenever it came out, I was like, I did it. I made Seth laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, when you went on the set, did you, let me see real quick. Someone here mentioned something. Andre mentioned Saved by the Bell. I remember that show. Yeah, they actually did, Andre. They actually brought that back. I'm not sure if it's still running or not, but I know that they ran for 2 seasons.
At least 2, yeah.
At least 2. I'm not sure if the third one went through or not. But yeah, all the original characters except for Screech. Screech didn't make it.
Yeah, he didn't make it. Yeah, I guess you could say
No.
that.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, that was a sad ending right there. Um, yeah. How long did it take for you to go from feeling like an outsider actor, a young actor, inexperienced or whatnot? How long did it take you to transfer from that to seeing someone like a Seth Rogen or Ed Begley as a peer? Instead of looking up at him, you're looking instead of looking up at him, you're looking at him directly. How long did that take for you?
Man, that's a good question. I still have a slight imposter syndrome whenever it comes to that, like because I have found myself on some amazing sets. I've been on Marvel sets, and I was, I was on. I did several years on a Tyler Perry show, and even with that, I remember one time after we cut, and Tyler Perry, like he's one of those guys that he's not intimidating per se, but he's just he commands his set and he runs everything. And with Tyler, he just like came over and did a quick good job, pat me on my back as he walked by, and it was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, like that's like that really happened. Like, huh, I did do a good job. It's like this weird feeling of validation. And then even for the Tyler Perry show, my character got fired my first season. Like I'm a private security guard for John Schneider on the show, and he fires me at the end of it. Get out, you're fired.
Oh man,
And
those Duke.
then I don't come back for season 6.
You don't come back for what?
So this was in season 5 that I was introduced, and I don't come back for season 6. They filmed season 6, and all of a sudden I get a call from Tyler Perry himself, and he says, and he's just, hey Kevin, it's Tyler. He's like, writing a new, I'm writing the new season. There's a character that I could re-bring your character back if you want, or I could just make a new guy. Like it, I'm kind of disposable at that point. It's like playing a cop. I'm playing a security guard, like a private security guard. And yes, sir, I would love to come back. And ended up coming back for 2 more seasons. And he even said, it was like, we were trying to figure out, if we wanted to write a new character. And I go, hey, what about that one young guy that I liked? What about him? We should hit him up and see if he's available. And then that's whenever they go, and we looked it up. He goes, I couldn't remember your name, but we looked it up. We're like, oh yeah, him, hit him up. And then he called me directly. And it's like one of those ones where now I have a cell phone number, and he's texting me. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm texting with Tyler Perry, like
Yeah.
regardless of if you like his stuff or not. I mean, he is a uber successful A-lister.
Yeah.
And now I'm like text buddies with them. So that I think that might have been my moment of like, oh shit, like, all right, like I'm here, I'm really doing this. And then same type of thing whenever I look, and I'm sitting in the makeup chair next to John Schneider. And for that show, we used to run lines in the makeup room. So I remember John Schneider's in the chair next to me. We're running our lines. I get up because I'm done, and then they need to put someone else in the chair. So I just stand in front of him, and I'm leaning on, kind of sitting on the vanity, and we're still sitting there running lines. And it's like, I mean, to me, it was like Bo Duke or Paul Kent from Smallville. Like I'm like, and this is just my guy that like all my scenes are with. Like that felt really, really good.
Now, speaking of running lines, your girlfriend Ashley, she's also an actress, right?
She is, yeah. She's an actress, and she's my partner. She's the president of 50 Caliber Productions, my production company, and she's a true boss.
Yes. I actually thought that she would already make an appearance to come in and say hi, because I said that we would probably be meeting her today. How did you guys meet?
I know she's not far away.
Is she home?
I believe she is. Hey, Ashley.
Maybe yeah, we should get her. We should get her to say hi, and then maybe later on I'll offer her a spot, and she can come tell her story.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. She's got a great story too.
How did you guys meet?
So we actually met through 2 mutual friends on 2 separate occasions. I got invited to a pool party from a buddy of mine, and I went, and it was at her house. And I made the connection. I can't remember if I Facebook friended her or how that went down, but I remembered her. I'm pretty good with faces and names. And then a year later, a separate friend of mine who was my producing partner at the time, he hits me up. He says, "Hey, I got this script, and if we want to shoot it, I have a location and I have an actress that I mind." And I was like, "Cool, who's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's Ashley." I go, "Oh, I know Ashley. I met her at her pool party." So he goes, "Oh, great." I was like, "Yeah, she's awesome. Like, I would love to have her be in it, because I love casting my friends. I love working with my friends, and same type of thing. If I could work with you on a 1-day shoot and it goes well, then maybe we could do something bigger." So with her, I said, "Yeah, go ahead. I'm down if you want to do it." And then we got to set, and she said something, and we're kind of talking all day. And then I was like, "Oh, hey, something." And she was like, "Oh, I can't remember how it went, but it was like, oh, we should be friends." I was like, "Oh, we are friends." I was like, "Oh, like we know each other." And she kind of turned red and she's like, "I don't think
Oh,
we've met."
but
And I was like,
she
"I
made a
was at
strong
your pool
impression.
party."
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in her fairness, it was a pool party. People were drinking, and there was like 100 people there. So she was the host. So she's like, "Oh my God, I feel bad." She's like, "Whenever I'm at my parties, I'm scatterbrained and I'm all over the place." I was like, "All right, I'll let this one slide."
As a
And I offered her a part. Go
that's
ahead.
I was gonna say that's very sweet. I mean, it's pretty important, some of those parties. I mean, but you don't drink or anything like that, right? Because you're bodybuilding. I mean, so you're pretty clear headed at these things, right?
For the most part, I do a cocktail when it's appropriate, but for that one, no, I was definitely very very clear headed for that one. And then like I say, anybody, I'm really good with faces and names. And with that, I ended up casting her in my next project, and that was I did a series called Job Guys, and I for that. And she was one of those ones that just went above and beyond, and she was just super helpful and was a lot of fun on set. And then we were neither one of us was single at the time, so we actually knew each other for several years, and we
Uh,
worked together, a handful of times, and then we found ourselves single at the time. And then one thing led to the next, and that was in late 2019. And then whenever the 2020, whenever it came time to, "Hey, they're telling us that we can't go outside for 3 weeks. Would you like to do that at my house? Because it'd be nice to have somebody there." And then, months later, being together 24/7, during the pandemic, that was the true real gut check. And but we wrote scripts together in that time. I was just starting my production company at the time. She did all the business paperwork for it. She's very 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 business savvy. And next thing you know, we developed a feature, and that was my first feature film with 16 bits that we were working on then. And then we just did so much, we just blended together so well. Then we started producing together. And then, like I say, once you start figuring out that you could work with somebody, and I don't always recommend working with having your, live-in, partner be your business partner, but in this scenario, it has been the best possible case scenario for both of us.
right, right. What are you working on now? I mean, are you working on any current projects right now that you want to share with us?
Always. So our first film that I was talking about, 16 bits, that one we just last month at the Culver City Film Festival. We won Best Sci-Fi Film, and that one we're working on getting all the distribution in line. So that one should be March. We also wrapped on another feature film last year called Craving. Me and Ashley play. Both are in it. And spoiler alert: we actually have our first screen fight in it, which is a lot of fun. So we
Uh-oh.
actually practiced that when I was the stunt coordinator on that one. So we rehearsed a fight scene in our own living room, and then went to set and threw down, and had a good time doing it. So Craving, that's Jay Horton directed that one, and he's editing that, and I think we're aiming it end of March of April for worldwide distribution on that one. Just linked up with somebody else and started shooting more projects. And yeah, it's we got about 4 different feature films in the pipeline that we're looking at doing. and with 2 of them complete and ready to roll. So hopefully in the next couple months, 16 bits, Craving, both will be out, and then hopefully we just keep this thing running and going. And I'm always jumping on other projects and always have just as an actor and plenty of other movies and TV shows and commercials and all the good stuff.
You and I have a Kevin Bacon moment besides the music, right?
Is that right?
Yes. You worked on a film called Escape to Ensenada.
Yes, I did.
So you worked with Brendan Slago and Devaney Penn.
That's right.
And both of them have been interviewed by us.
No, Red, they're great.
They're really nice people.
Seeing
I saw that. I was
two
really
as a
excited.
producing duo.
Yes.
Yeah, seeing those two as a producing duo is part of the inspiration of what, like, me and Ashley. They really inspire me that they do, a couple movies a year, and Devaney obviously working on camera and Brandon behind. But Brandon's super cool. He was also in a new metal band right around the
right
that I was. So me and him connected on that level.
Yeah, that's we did that too. First we connected on Charles Manson, and then we connected on because he did House of Manson.
Yeah.
So we talked about that, and then we started talking about music, and then been staying in touch ever since. Yeah, I saw that on your credits. I'm all like, holy cow, this is a small ass world.
Yeah, they're super cool, and yeah, like I say, they do inspire me to seeing the way that they do it. And Escape Ensenada, I remember, was called California Dreamin', and they were like, we hate that name, but that was the working title as we were doing it.
Right.
So I got brought in. So in that movie, I don't know if you actually watched it, but in that movie, you don't see anything, but it is that me and Devaney's characters hook up. So it's but it's all off camera, so it's all implied, but still
right.
a lot of fun.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, I think you have a very bright future. I think you have a very bright future. I think you've had a hell of a story. You've had a hell of a life so far. Like I said when we started, you've done so much, just an amazing life. A good human being too. And I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us.
Have fun, like I said.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us, Kevin. I mean, this has been so much fun. I told you that I promised you a fun time. I'd like to think that I did. It's been great. I will definitely connect you with the guy with Rogue Origin. I think that's something that you should look up. Hopefully you could make a connection there, because those guys do stuff right up your alley. Right up your alley. In fact, I'm just thinking about this, going like, yeah, they could work with him. They could work with you.
Awesome. I love new people. It's one of my, as much as I enjoy working with my friends and continuing those relationships, because in fact every project that I have in the works right now is people that I've currently worked with already, that we've already been through the to lack of another term, we've been through the shit together.
Right.
And I'd happily go back at it with them again. And I'm really excited. The director of 16 Bits, Aaron Mento, we're already working on our next project together. The director that I just wrapped out with, we're already in line to do the next project. The one I did Craving with, we're in that line to do our next one. That's a good sign of things, and knowing that it's just get bigger and better, and as we grow and learn together.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of directors do that. They work with the same people, the John Ford effect, so to speak. They have their own troupe of actors that they depend on because they're dependable. Especially on the independent film level, we've heard several stories about in working independent films where the talent or the crew, doesn't always make it. They just stop showing up, and you hear nightmare stories. So it's always nice to know when you have a good core group that can get a project done. I mean, it's got to be it's more comfortable that way. You go into work knowing that the crew's going to be there, your actors are going to be there. So I can definitely relate to that. I'm glad that it just and there's nothing wrong with working with friends and peers that you've already worked with. I know you want to get out there and see fresh faces too,
Yeah.
and sometimes sometimes investors and executive producers will tell you that they'll sit there and say, "Yeah, you worked with this guy like 5 times already. We want to see somebody else in there for 6." I've seen that too. Um, but yeah, I think as soon as we get done here, I definitely want to send a note to the Rogue Boys and introduce you and whatnot, and let you guys take it from there. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out. Like I said, hanging out with us. I want to thank our chat guys over here. One question for our friend Krubby. He wanted to know that if you weren't acting today, what would you be doing?
Ooh, that is a tough one. Well, I do have a side business. Me and Ashley do have one in real estate investment, and with me doing being more of the construction guy on it, and then her being the the real estate side of it. So I'd probably be doing something in that realm. I love working with my hands, and I always have, and I love building. I love creating, and that's one of the things that I love about movies is that at the end of the day you could see what you've done, and I'm such a big fan of that. Maybe that was one of my issues with some of my previous careers, that like to not see where it's going, kind of. But actually, at the end of the day, and building is one of my favorite things, because it's just so it'd probably be in the either if it was just straight up construction, if I would have just kept in a life of that, or something in that realm.
Uh, there you go, Krubby. There's the answer. I want to thank you again. I thank the chat for coming out there and hanging out with us as well. We will have Kevin back. I'm sure he'll come back once we get maybe when 16 bits is hitting the screen. We will have him come back and talk to us about that. Tomorrow night we still are rolling along. We do this 3 times a week, and tomorrow night we will be having actress Alexis Baca will join us, and then on the 12th we have filmmaker from Ohio. Ohio. You got to get to Ohio. Kevin, they have some really talented filmmakers out
Yeah,
there.
I know a bunch of people out of Cleveland. Yeah,
Oh
very,
my
very good
God,
area.
it's amazing. I really, honestly, I really didn't realize how much talent there really is out there. There's a lot of very imaginative, very creative people in Ohio, and we're gonna meet one of them on Thursday. We're gonna meet Josh Jolly. Did I say that right? Jake Jolly. Sorry about that, Jake Jolly, who did a film called Clay Zombies. It's a hoot. It's an it's as crazy as it sounds. Which features Diane Franklin in a role, and so we'll be talking to him on Thursday. All right, you stay right there for a second. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat. Thanks for coming out. We will see you tomorrow night with Alexis Baca. All right, hold on one second. Oh, come on. There we go.